What's up, everybody? I'm Jason, this is a Freebird Garage, and you saw that title right. I ruined my first paint job, and we're gonna dive into how we're gonna eradicate that today and show you what happened. So hopefully if you're doing it, you don't do the same thing, or hopefully not, all right? So let's get to it. So why are we redoing this fender? It was cut and buffed, and it's back to primer state. It's a bit of a horror story about how this went about. When I was cutting and buffing it, I didn't go through to the paint, which is more common to myself to do if we were redoing this. But in this case, some of the edges of the rear fender here started to see through the paint. Like it wasn't covered well enough when I shot it. I know that I didn't get a good clear shooting spray underneath it. One was the stand, so I redid a stand. I got a much better setup for this. But what ended up happening, and my whole idea was when that was starting to happen, it didn't look right. Maybe if I was gonna flip it, sell the bike super quick or something, then maybe you could be okay with it, but it just didn't sit well with me if someone were to get this bike and for them to see that, it just didn't feel right. So wanted to reshoot it. I scuffed it all down, got the clear coat down, and I was just gonna hit it with some black, hit it with clear, redo it, call it good. By the time we get set up and put it on the bike, it'll be all set. But that didn't happen. I got it all set up, everything was cleaned, and then when I started to spray, a couple drops of water flopped right into the paint on the first base coat. Not a problem, all right? So I grabbed what was my cloth, which I thought was the clean one, and did the dumb mistake, and I had my thinner on there. And if anyone knows about dealing with paint, I essentially rubbed all over this paint job with the clear off with a rag full of thinner. It's about the dumbest thing I've ever done to that, and it just dropped in my stomach that I just realized I just contaminated the paint. And I was hoping that I would just walk through this and we'll continue painting, maybe we can get through it. Well, I went and shot some black on it and it started to crinkle, and it crinkled bad all over it. The paint started to lift, anything that shot across it. I'll show you some pictures. I should have shot some pictures of the actual deal, but it crinkled like, I don't know, like tissue paper, and it's called lifting. So it started to lift and crinkle anywhere the new paint would hit the old stuff. And you would wipe it away or sand it, it's still look good, but what ends up happening is that thinner softens up the base coat, and essentially you can't sand it down. If you're lucky, you might have a small spot and sand it, but in this case, it was enough all over the paint that you couldn't see it, that if you shot paint is the only time that it would start to lift. So I had a big old bath of thinner on this and just stripped the entire thing down back to the beginning. Now, I went all the way down to the base coat, which luckily it didn't seem to penetrate the base, or the, the primer that I had on here. Primer is super strong that I have on here. I was expecting that to be eaten into. The stuff is like, I want to call it like body filler, or a type of like bed liner thickness that's on here. It's really nice stuff. So we got it all the way down, sanded it all the way down, scrubbed it, everything, and then we needed to reshoot with primer. So I shot that with primer, got that ahead of time, and then I did the smart thing. This was recommended to me, was actually use a guide coat. Never used this before, and even asked my father, who used to paint way back in the day. This wasn't around, this wasn't a thing back then. I don't know if this is probably more like a 20 year ago thing. I'm assuming that when that came out, it was more popular. That's a spray version, which is great for doing wet sanding across on your paint. So did the guide coat on there with that, and it worked out beautifully. So I even have it better than I did before, which I'm excited about. I got my edges extra thick, smoothed out, perfectly sanded from that guide coat. I mean, it is awesome. So way better setup than we are now, which is the good part. We're just gonna reshoot it, show you guys a couple of the pieces I'm gonna talk about, and then we'll dive into some other pieces in this video, but just wanna get to the chase of why we are repeating a piece that we already finished. But I didn't have to show this, but I wanna show you guys the mistakes that happen when you're doing stuff on your own and essentially for the first time. I do not go unscathed with mess ups. They always come about. So let's get this painted and hope that everything does go well and we got a nice clear coat. All right, so let's get in the paint booth, let's get it shot, and we'll get it forward. Probably should mention, if you've just joined us, we're using black. That's what I shot with this whole project for the most part, other than the pinstriping, and it's by Perfect Coat, and it is a Harley mixture, chemical, whatever you want to call it, done by a local painter supply. This isn't the PPE, actual Harley paint code. I went to it for another video. If you want to check that out, go here. But on that, we are doing this all black to the Harley black specific, or close as I can get it. All right, so mixing it right now. Let's get out there. All right, a little break in the video. We are shooting the clear right now. If you haven't seen me go through my step-by-step process behind me of how I mix my clear, what clear I'm using, go check out this video here. I do a step-by-step of exactly my mix ratio to what type I'm using. If you just want to know, I am using the perfect coat as the same as the base coat. It's been pretty good. It's about a mid-grade clear. I've already shot it on my fairing. Came out very nice as far as the buff, cutting, all that good stuff. I put it right around 2 to 3 coats of clear and then 4 coats of base just to make sure it's nice and thick. If you're probably doing this in a shop, that'd probably be overdoing it. You want to keep it to really around 2 to 3, but I just want to be overprotected on my fairing, especially with the rear fender. It's an area that gets beat up a lot on the road, so more can't hurt it. You know, everyone usually forgets about their rear fender, and you only see that little corner section at the end, but we're gonna clear this. We're gonna get it all done. It's gonna look good, stoked. So I'll see you guys when we get done. Clear coat is done. Let's roll the tent, see how it came out. Much better than last time. Way less orange peel. Finally starting to get it somewhat down to what my style is there. But overall, pretty stoked, happy. A lot less sanding for imperfections. All right, so let's go back out. Let's get back in the garage. Bam, there it is. The rear fender repainted once again. You gotta learn from your mistakes. I wanna show you guys what happens. So if you're trying to paint yourself, or if you're screaming at me through the video knowing I shouldn't have done that, that always helps too. You know, any advice towards painting has always helped out. I've learned a lot just from doing this the second time around and got my clear coat to flow way better on this and the base coat, and to know what to look for and also how to fix my mistakes. The biggest thing in painting is learning how to overcome any mistakes you have and not freak out and have to tear down the whole thing. It's all about having to overcome that, and that's what I've done so far with this, and I'm pretty happy with what it's done to this point. Now we can actually start getting this on the bike and put back together, and that's why we also have our beautiful FXRT fairing, nice and buffed out. Last time you guys saw this, it had all the compound all over it. Just about done getting this finished and cleaned up, so super stoked on that. But for now, guys, that about wraps me in this one. I would greatly appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button, tap that like, press the notification, leave a comment below and tell what you think. And for those who've already subscribed, thank you, and as always, stay free. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.